Hi friends, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It's Tuesday, August 20th, 2024, and I hope everyone's having a wonderful day. Jana Duggar is on the way to Nebraska. Well, I don't know if that's actually where she's on her way, but she will be moving to Lincoln, Nebraska soon, and she will be away from Jim Bob Duggar and the Duggar clan for the very first time in her very 34 years of life. It's wild to think about the fact that this woman has lived her entire life on a piece of property. Well, not her entire life, but a large portion of her life on the over 20 plus acres that the Duggars inhabit in Town, right across the street from a landfill. There's been all kinds of articles about how stinky it is there. And the Duggars own a ton of property, both on one side of that they're on, which is over 20 acres, and then they have like another 40 acres across the street. And Jana is about to be embarking on a new life in Lincoln, Nebraska. Recently, Realtor.com got a hold of some information about the house. Yesterday, I said I wasn't going to be talking about the house, but here we go, because Realtor has some deets for you that's in a public article. So here's what they have to say. Basically, Town, which is in Arkansas, northwestern Arkansas, it's about 6.5 hours from Lincoln. It's directly north, about 430 miles away. So this is definitely not going to be an area where she is going to easily be traveling back to Town to go see her parents. Her brother John has a airplane, so clearly he can go see her, and it's not a super long flight because it's only a 6.5 hour drive. But it's going to be quite a culture shock for Jana because she's going from the south to the deep Midwest. It's going to be a little bit colder there. She's going to be the Duggar that lives the furthest north. I know that's wild. Other Duggars that have moved out of state have been Justin, who lives in Texas, so he went further south, and Ginger, who moved to first Texas and Laredo and then moved to Los Angeles. So Jana will be the only Duggar that's in a more northern part of the United States. And I wouldn't necessarily call Nebraska northern, but she's going to be in a rude awakening in terms of winters, because Nebraska gets quite a bit more snow than what she's likely used to in Arkansas. Arkansas gets ice and snow, but not the kind of snow that Lincoln will get. So she's moving in with her new husband, Steven. According to the article that is published on Realtor.com, Steven actually bought a house that's about 21 square feet, so 2152 square feet. He purchased the home for $275,000 in 2023, and that was in June of 2023, before Jana and he were even engaged, and really before they even had reconnected in their relationship. According to Jana, she and Steven reconnected earlier this year, and the relationship went on warp speed after they exchanged some handwritten letters, and they decided to get married. So the house is a ranch-style home, and it's completely finished. The main living area has shiny flooring, 2 bright windows, and flows to the dining room and open kitchen. There's 3 bedrooms that are situated on the first level, and the 2 other are in the basement, along with a rec room and a second bath. So what's also going to be different than what she has in Arkansas is that people in Nebraska generally have basements, and this home has a basement. And so for tornadoes, they don't have to have like a storm shelter, quote unquote, like they do in Arkansas. Now, some people in Arkansas have basements, but it's not as common. When you get further north, you start to see more and more basements because of frost lines, and because there's no water lines that you're interfering with. So anyways, so in the basement, there are 2 bedrooms and a rec room and a second bathroom. The yard is fully fenced, so there's kids that can roam safely, and there's a huge storage shed with a 2-car garage. So it's definitely not on 20 acres. It's certainly not as big as the Duggar's house, but on the same breath, it's also bigger than the tiny little shed that Jim Bob had her inhabiting for the last couple years, where she would have been kicked out of the main house and was living in this tiny little trailer next to their volleyball/basketball court off of the patio door of the Duggars. So it's the home she was in when she lived with the Duggars was like 7,000 square feet. This home, again, is 2,100 square feet. The home is not super new by any means, and it does look like if they want to fix things up. Like the kitchen cabinets look like they need some updating. Kitchen counter looks like it could use some updating. The floors are relatively nice. They appear to be either wood or like a laminate. And there are carpeting in the rooms. So the house itself isn't like a massive palatial estate, but it's actually a lot nicer than some of the places that some of her siblings are living in. So if you look in comparatively compared to some of the other siblings, like John Duggar, her twin, still lives in a trailer situated on property owned by his parents, the Duggars. You have Jason that lives in a tree house. Jed lives in a 21 or 2,200 square foot home on the property, again, owned by Jim Bob at the car lot. Jeremiah, I don't know where Jeremiah lives. He might still live in an RV, but he also could be living in the old house that Jessa had transported from the property she owned with her husband, Ben. The same house that Josh and Anna first lived in. I don't know if that's where they're living, but they did move that home to across the street from the Duggars in Tontitown. Josiah recently built his own house. Joe lives in a log house that was once occupied by Mary Duggar. I think her brother Justin and Claire live in the basement at her parents' house, or maybe in a trailer outside of their house. So this house is for sure an upgrade compared to how some of her siblings are living. Her sister Jill's house would be a little bit bigger than this. Ginger and Jeremy just threw down $1.9 million on a home that they purchased from the Master's Seminary, and they have like a $1.4 or $1.5 million loan. I was shocked. At first, I thought they were going to be renting housing from the church and from the seminary, but they actually bought the home from the church. Wild, right? So they have a massive mortgage, and that home is huge. It's like over 4,000 square feet. So her home by no means is the biggest, but for the girls, she's doing all right. Interestingly, on top of that, her sister Joy just put her house up on the market. So Joy and Austin are going to be moving. I have no idea where they're moving to. The home that they had purchased was a gift flip that they got once they got married. I think it was a home that was previously owned by Mary Duggar, and then Austin and she completely remodeled it. And it's not a super big house. It only has a couple of bedrooms, maybe 3 bedrooms, and they have 3 kids now. So I can see how they might be almost growing out of that home. But Jana's home is decent sized with 5 bedrooms. So if they plan to have kids, there's enough rooms for at least 4 on top of them having their own bedroom. Steven works for his dad. He does sandblasting and he does irrigation, meaning he puts in like sprinkler systems. And I don't know what her plans are to do and whether or not she plans to go into work with him. She never really established a career of her own when she was still living in Tontitown. She did mention that she was going to school in nursing, and she had completed a couple semesters before she decided to get married to Steven. So I don't know if she plans to continue her nursing degree and if she'll transfer to a school in Lincoln. I think the only thing that makes me sad in all of this is that she was finally doing something for higher education, and now that she's married, that dream may not come to fruition, but we'll have to see. What will be interesting for her, though, is that she's moving to a place 6.5 hours away. She's going to be living in a house with just her and Steven, right? She's been used to being surrounded by tons and tons of people her whole life. She's not going to have access to all of her siblings that she's always been around her whole life. It's going to be a lot quieter. Now, he does have a lot of family that lives there in the same area, but he's not necessarily like right next door to where his parents live. One other thing that I wanted to share is that James Duggar posted a sweet message to her, which said, "Watching my sister marry the man of her dreams has filled my heart with so much joy. She found an amazing, godly man who truly compliments her in every way. I've prayed for this day for years and couldn't be more happy for you both. So excited to see what God has in store for y'all." James and Jana were very close, and I think it's cute that he was praying for her to find a man. It's wild that, I wonder how many of the siblings were praying for Jana to find a way out of the family. I mean, I'm just saying. So Jana likes to fix things up and she likes to remodel, so she might be able to use her handy skills to get things fixed up. And again, the photographs that are shared by Realtor were from the listing of when it was purchased. It's hard to know what, if any, changes have been made to the house. There's plenty of space for them to grow and like expand and have children if that's what they decide to do. Jana at 34 years old is still within a relatively normal age to have kids. She's kind of pushing up against what's called, when you get into the more high risk, when you get to, I think, 35, you're considered higher risk because of your age. Even though 35 isn't actually very old, there's more complications the older you get when you have children. Advanced maternal age. So she might be considered advanced maternal age for her pregnancy, although she's not like old by any means. And to give you some sort of context, I think Michelle had children well into her 40s, and she had, I think, 8 kids after she turned 35. So Jana could, if she wanted to, like literally push out a baby a year and come out with 10. I don't think that's going to be what happens. I think that would be a lot on her. I could see her probably having 4 or 5 kids, but again, that's still a lot. And she's always been very independent. And I don't know if she's going to want to have that many kids after raising all of her siblings. Both of them come from huge families. And when you look at the family photos from this wedding, it's obvious that like mega oversized families. They are enormous. The Duggars posted a whole family photo, and Jill and Derek were there. They're back in the back of the photo, and all the other siblings were there, minus Josh, who actually obviously was not because he's in prison. And Anna Duggar was not photographed in the family photo. However, she was at the wedding. So she may have opted to not be a part of the family photo, which doesn't surprise me because Anna's been very much on the outs with the family and not very interested in being like, she's very much with Josh and on Josh's team at this point. So Jana and Steven, they're going to start their new life. She's going to be in Nebraska. She's going to be in a bit of a culture shock. It's going to be a little bit colder. She's going to have a different culture that she's going to be around, different church, whole new set of living. And Ginger talked quite a bit about the culture shock she had when she married Jeremy, moving into a new culture and how isolated she had been as a child and insulated, and how it wasn't easy for her to make friends. Jana is a lot more reserved than even Ginger. So there could be some hiccups along the way, but I'm sure she'll do fine. So what are your thoughts about this, leaving Nebraska and embarking on a new life? Tell me what your thoughts are in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed, and click the bell so you never miss a video. Bye, everyone.